The mistaken assistant. The rain came down in sheets, turning the Manhattan sidewalk into a gauntlet of puddles and rushing strangers. Maya Rodriguez clutched her portfolio against her chest, the cheap plastic cover doing little to protect the resumes inside. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, the cracked screen barely readable through the spiderweb of fractures. 23 years old, wearing a blazer 2 sizes too big that she'd found at a thrift store in Brooklyn. She was already 12 minutes late for an interview she couldn't afford to miss. The notification flashed. Your Uber is arriving now, black SUV. When the sleek black vehicle pulled up to the curb, Maya didn't hesitate. She yanked open the door and collapsed into the leather seat, rain dripping from her hair onto the immaculate floor mats. Thank God, she gasped. I thought I'd have to. You're late. The voice cut through her relief like a blade. Maya's head snapped up to find a man sitting across from her in the spacious rear cabin. He was maybe 35, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to calculate her worth in milliseconds. He didn't look up from his tablet. The files are in the seat pocket, he said, his tone flat and commanding. We have 12 minutes before the board meeting. Start briefing me on the Henderson acquisition numbers. Maya's mouth went dry. This wasn't her Uber. This was someone else's car, someone else's life, and she just stumbled into it like an idiot. She should say something, correct the mistake, get out at the next light. But then she saw the folder in the seat pocket. Her hand moved almost on its own, pulling out the documents. Numbers swam across the pages, financial projections, market analysis. And something clicked in her brain, that same spark that had gotten her through her economics degree on a full scholarship even as she worked 3 jobs. These numbers were wrong. Well, the man's voice carried an edge of impatience. I don't have time for silence. Maya made a decision that would change everything. The Henderson acquisition, she began, her voice steadier than she felt. Projected revenue of $42 million in the first quarter, but the operational costs are underestimated by at least 18%. For the first time he looked up. His eyes were gray, intense, searching. Continue. The SUV merged into traffic, carrying her away from her real interview, from her real life, into something far more dangerous. By the time they pulled up to Sterling Towers, a gleaming monument of steel and glass in Midtown, Maya had talked her way through half the acquisition portfolio. The man, who she'd gathered was named Cameron Sterling from the documents, had asked rapid-fire questions that she'd answered with a precision that surprised even herself. Stay close, he said as they exited the vehicle. The board doesn't tolerate incompetence. Maya's heart hammered as she followed him through a lobby that screamed wealth, into an elevator that required a key card up to the 42nd floor. She should run. She should confess. But the way he'd looked at her when she'd corrected his numbers, like she was actually worth listening to, it was intoxicating. The boardroom was all dark wood and hostile faces. 12 people sat around a table that probably cost more than her entire year's rent. Cameron took his seat at the head, and Maya stood behind him, trying to look like she belonged. Mr. Sterling, a silver-haired woman in a blood-red suit, began. We've reviewed your proposal for the Henderson acquisition. Frankly, we're not convinced. The numbers speak for themselves, Victoria, Cameron replied. Do they? A younger man with slick-back hair leaned forward. Because our analysis shows this will lose money in the first 3 quarters. Maya saw it immediately. The projection on the screen had transposed 2 columns, making a profitable venture look like a disaster. Her hand trembled as she leaned down to Cameron's ear. The spreadsheet, she whispered. Columns F and G are switched, revenue and costs are flipped. Cameron's jaw tightened. He stood, walking to the screen with a confidence that made the room fall silent. Brandon, your analysis is based on faulty data. Look at cell F7. That's revenue, not operational costs. Someone transposed the columns. The room erupted. Brandon's face went red as he scrambled to check his laptop. Victoria's expression shifted from skepticism to intrigue. Cameron returned to his seat, and as he sat down, his hand briefly touched Maya's arm, a gesture so quick she almost missed it. "Thank you," it said. The meeting lasted another hour. Maya caught two more errors, each one making Cameron look more brilliant and his opponents more foolish. By the time they filed out, she felt like she'd run a marathon. In the hallway, Cameron's phone buzzed. Maya glimpsed the screen, new assistant Jennifer calling. Her stomach dropped. The real assistant, the person who was supposed to be here. Cameron reached for the phone, but Maya's hand shot out, hitting the decline button. "What are you doing?" he asked, his eyes narrowing. "You have the Silverman meeting in 20 minutes, Maya said quickly, her mind racing. "If you take that call now, you'll be distracted. I'll handle it." It was a lie, a terrible, desperate lie. But Cameron nodded and walked toward his office, leaving Maya alone with a phone that wouldn't stop buzzing. She silenced it completely and made herself a promise. Just get through today. Just prove yourself for one day. Then she'd come clean. The afternoon was a blur of meetings, phone calls, and crises that Maya somehow navigated by sheer instinct, and the research skills she'd honed writing papers at 3 in the morning. Cameron barely looked at her, but she noticed him watching her handle a difficult client call, saw the way his posture relaxed when she flagged a contract clause that would have cost him millions. Around 4 o'clock, between a meeting with lawyers and a conference call with Tokyo, Cameron's hand started shaking. "When did you last eat?" Maya asked. "I don't remember," he muttered, his usual commanding tone weakened. The corporate dining room would take 40 minutes to prepare something. Maya made another impulsive decision. She grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the elevator. "What are you doing?" he demanded, but he didn't resist. "Saving you from passing out in front of the Tokyo investors," she said. 5 minutes later, they stood on a street corner in Midtown, and Maya bought 2 hot dogs from a vendor who probably violated a dozen health codes. She handed one to Cameron Sterling, a man who'd probably never eaten street food in his life. He stared at it like it might explode. "Eat," Maya commanded, and something in her tone made him obey. They sat on a bench in a small plaza, rain still misting around them, and for the first time all day, Cameron Sterling looked human. "You're different from the other assistants," he said finally. Maya's heart seized. "How so?" "You're not afraid of me." He took another bite of the hot dog, and something like a smile ghosted across his face. "This is actually good." "Sometimes the best things are the ones we don't expect," Maya said softly. His phone buzzed again. This time a text from his head of security. "Incident in lobby. Need you down here." They took the elevator down, Cameron's expression darkening with each floor. When the doors opened, Maya saw her worst nightmare. A small crowd gathered around a security desk, and at the center, a Uber driver holding a bright pink umbrella. "I'm telling you, a woman got in my car this morning and left this," the driver was saying. "The GPS tag led me here. I need to return it." Maya's blood ran cold. Attached to the umbrella was her student ID from Colombia, her face smiling out from the plastic card. Cameron's head of security, a broad-shouldered man named Derek, took the umbrella. His eyes scanned the ID, then slowly lifted to where Cameron and Maya stood by the elevator. "Mr. Sterling," Derek said carefully, "do you know a Maya Rodriguez?" Everything slowed down. Cameron turned to her, his expression shifting from confusion to understanding to something dark and dangerous. "Maya Rodriguez," he repeated, "that's you." It wasn't a question. "I can explain," Maya began, but Cameron held up a hand. "You're not Jennifer from the temp agency." His voice was quiet, which somehow made it more terrifying. "You're not my assistant at all." The lobby had gone silent. Derek moved closer, his hand hovering near something at his belt, Other security personnel materialized from nowhere. "I got in the wrong car," Maya said, her voice breaking. "It was raining and I saw a black SUV and I just jumped in. I didn't mean to." "You didn't mean to impersonate my assistant, attend confidential board meetings, access privileged financial information." Cameron's face had gone cold, that brief humanity from the hot dog stand erased. "Do you understand what you've done?" "I helped you," Maya shot back, anger rising through her fear. "Those board members would have crucified you if I hadn't caught those errors. The Silverman contract would have bankrupted your European division. I earned my place in that building today." "You lied your way into my life," Cameron said. "Derek, escort Ms. Rodriguez out of the building. If she resists, call the police." "Cameron, please." "It's Mr. Sterling to you," he said and turned away. Derek's hand closed gently but firmly on Maya's arm. She let herself be led to the door, past the gawking employees and the uncomfortable Uber driver. The rain had intensified, and she had no umbrella, no phone battery, no hope. At the door, she turned back one last time. Cameron stood by the elevator, his back to her, rigid and untouchable. "I'm sorry," she called out, "but I'm not sorry for being good enough." He didn't turn around. The week that followed was the worst of Maya's life. She missed her interview, lost the data entry job she'd been counting on, and spent every night certain that police would knock on her apartment door. But they never came. Instead, she found work at a soul-crushing telemarketing firm, the kind of place where fluorescent lights hummed over cubicles and dreams went to die. She was reading from a script about aluminum siding when she saw the black SUV pull up outside the window. Her hand froze on the phone. Cameron Sterling walked into the office, and every head turned. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than the entire month's payroll, and he moved with the confidence of someone who owned the world. His eyes found her in the sea of cubicles. "Maya Rodriguez," he said, "we need to talk." Her supervisor, a sweaty man named Phil, practically tripped over himself. "Mr. Sterling, sir, I didn't know you knew our Maya." "Outside," Cameron said to her, ignoring Phil completely. Maya stood on shaking legs and followed him into the rain. The SUV idled at the curb, and for a terrifying moment she wondered if this was it. The lawsuit. The criminal charges. Cameron handed her a folder. "What is this?" she asked. "A contract. Lead analyst position at Sterling Enterprises. 85,000 starting salary, full benefits, reporting directly to me." Maya's mind went blank. "What?" "I spent the last week having you investigated," Cameron said. "Economics degree, full scholarship, top of your class. 3 jobs to pay for an apartment you share with 4 roommates. Rejected from 12 analyst positions because you don't have the right connections." He paused. "And in one day, you saved my company approximately $47 million. "I lied to you," Maya whispered. "You did," Cameron agreed. "You also showed more initiative and intelligence than anyone I've hired in 5 years. I'm not offering you this job because I've forgiven you. I'm offering it because I'm not an idiot." Maya looked down at the contract, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. "Why?" "Because sometimes the best things are the ones we don't expect," Cameron said, throwing her own words back at her. "You taught me that." He turned to get back in the SUV, then paused. "Next time, check the license plate," he said, "but don't be late on Monday." The SUV pulled away, leaving Maya standing in the rain, holding a contract that felt like a dream. Behind her, Phil stood in the doorway, his mouth hanging open. Maya looked at the contract one more time, then back at the telemarketing office. She thought about the wrong car, the right moment, and the terrifying leap she'd taken into someone else's life. Sometimes the biggest mistakes led to the best destinations. She walked back inside, past Phil, straight to her cubicle. She grabbed her coat and her one personal photo, a picture of her and her mother on graduation day. "Where are you going?" Phil sputtered. Maya smiled, really smiled, for the first time in a week. "Somewhere I belong," she said. Monday morning, Maya Rodriguez walked through the doors of Sterling Towers wearing a blazer that actually fit, bought with the signing bonus that had appeared in her account over the weekend. Cameron was waiting in the lobby, 2 coffees in hand. He handed her one without a word. "Thank you," she said. "Don't thank me yet," Cameron replied. "The board wants to meet the analyst who saved them $47 million. Victoria specifically requested you." Maya's stomach flipped, the one in the red suit. "She wants to hire you away from me," Cameron said. "You'll get better offers, higher pay, easier bosses." He looked at her directly. "But you won't get a better story." Maya laughed, the sound echoing in the marble lobby. "No," she agreed. "I definitely won't." They walked to the elevator together, and as the doors closed, Maya caught her reflection in the polished steel. She looked different, confident, like someone who belonged. "Maya," Cameron said as they rose toward the boardroom. "Yes. Thank you for getting in the wrong car." She smiled. "Thank you for not checking the license plate." The elevator doors opened onto her new life, and Maya Rodriguez stepped forward without hesitation. If you loved Maya's incredible journey from a wrong car to the right career, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below telling us what you would have done in Maya's shoes, and smash that like button to help others discover this story. Your support means everything, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. See you in the next one.